Welcome to the Commercial Real Estate Investing from A to Z podcast, named one of the best commercial real estate podcasts by Business Insider. I'm your host, Steph Boldrini. We review all aspects of commercial real estate investing and bring the top people in the industry to share their best tips and lessons learned. And in today's episode, I will be sharing quite a few different things from events that I recently attended, conferences, my self-storage mastermind. I'll start with some random pieces of information related to real estate, and then I will give you a market update on what is going on today. Then I will review some management items that you must be doing with your employees today. And I will close with how you should be working with your lenders, how to build relationships with them, how to negotiate terms, and also what you need to do on your loan documents. All very important information. Here we go. So let's start with some random items that I just typed up at one of the conferences I attended. Some of the dollar stores that recently closed are now selling in bankruptcy for a huge discount. And there are many ways that you can partner up with people, owners of the real estate. They were talking about doing a JV, a joint venture with these owners who have a lot of dark real estate. And dark real estate in retail means that it's a store that they still have a lease on the real estate, but they have closed doors. That tenant is still responsible for the rent, but having a dark retail in your center is not good for your other tenants. So as the owner, you should figure out a way to fill that space again. So what can you convert that to? Another thing that they were really emphasizing is that you can partner up with cities. Ask the city, what do they need? Offer to buy the land at, let's say, $1 per square foot that they may own. Offer to pay them starting on year 3 to 10 when the property is ready or stabilized. The city will get your project approved faster than normal because they have an incentive to do so, and you can also get funds from them for this project. Also, if you need a capital partner, there are capital market intermediaries that can help you find family offices or a construction loan. I do remember chatting with a couple of people that do that a while ago, and as far as my memory goes, their fees are pretty low. They're around 2 to 2.5%. If you raise a real estate fund, your real estate fund management fee is about 1.5 to 2% of the committed capital yearly. And of course, that is to maintain your operations and manage the fund. Do not give special terms such as MFN. I'll explain what that is soon. Unless an investor is committing a minimum of 25% of the deal. A most favorable nation clause, the MFN clause, gives the party the legal right to terms and benefits under the contract that are as good as or more favorable than the terms and benefits received by anyone else that enters into a similar contract with the other party. So do not accept MFN terms unless these people are committing at least 25% of the deal. And once you do your syndication webinar, make sure that you tell them, your investors, your future potential investors, that they have the next week open for any questions that they may have. This builds trust and helps them move forward. And moving forward with our market updates. This came from our syndication attorney, Mauricio Rold. As we all know, the term survive until 25. That term has now turned persist until 26, according to him. He recently attended the National Multi-Housing Council conference, and the sentiment was that distress is coming. One of the reasons is because lenders continue to extend loans rather than foreclose on them. That was the old extend and pretend tactic. And according to him, in 95% of the cases, lenders were granting 1-year extensions to borrowers rather than foreclosing. So lenders did not want the properties like they got them in 2008. Also, there were certain conditions to those extensions, like extension fees, cap rates, and recapitalizing past due amounts, which makes sense from the lender's perspective. So now these extensions are scheduled to expire in 2025. Remember that most bridge loans were initially extended in 2021 and 22, and they were 3-year loans. Lenders are unwilling to foreclose unless borrowers completely stop making payments, and this is actually a sentiment that George Ross shared on his monthly mastermind with Victor Menashe. He said that if you are in trouble, you need to let them know in advance that you need to work something out with the lenders. And if they play hardball, just stop making the payments. The majority of the lenders will not want to foreclose on you. I know that sounds incredibly scary, but that's what he said. What they prefer is to switch out the failing operators and sponsors and giving favorable terms to the new managers. However, many are still unable to sustain current high interest rates or bring additional cash to meet the lender requirements. Moving on to self-storage. This is a tip that they shared. If you are buying a facility that is half built, negotiate with the seller, for example, $15,000 per month refund if they don't deliver the rest in time. As far as real estate investment trusts, their ROI and occupancy is down across the board. There is in general 80.9 occupancy across the board. Of course, this is all over the country, and some markets are better and some markets are worse than that. They talked about these large operators like Extra Space and Public Storage. They actually offer management services to owners, and they all have their pros and cons, and none of them are perfect. When you have a large facility, you must ideally use them because they will eat you alive, according to my mastermind, if they are in your market and you are not using them. When you are in this business or any business, you must be the absolute best at the basics. And the basics in self-storage are open the door, put the items in, close the door. We must have a clean facility, make sure that the gate works, and make sure that you answer the phone. Another interesting information that I learned is that bourbon storage is typically 100% occupied, and they have 4-year contracts. You may or may not know this, I just learned this, that bourbon can only be stored in Kentucky. And the last point regarding storage is that if you are not fast, you will not buy anything this year. This part here is if you are somewhat new to dealing with brokers and owners of facilities that you are trying to buy. When you call a sales broker, here is what you're going to say. Hi, I'm Stephanie Boldrini. I have 3 storage facilities in South Carolina, Florida, and California, and the property at this address fits our buy box. Note here that if you don't have any storage facilities, let them know how many other real estate you may have. Of course, you want to ask your questions. I did a podcast on that, questions to ask the broker. One of them is, why are they selling? And so you go over all of the questions that you may have. Of course, also after you have reviewed the OM, Tell them that you will have some feedback within 2 to 3 business days, and of course, you get back to them. When you call the owner, you give the same introduction, and you also offer to sign an NDA when you ask for financials. Again, tell them that you will have feedback within 2 to 3 business days and get back to them. Once that is done and you are still interested in the property, go visit the owner in person, take them for lunch. There is nothing like a face-to-face meeting. Always submit an LOI, even if you think the sales price is high. Brokers typically list the price of the property at 15 to 20% higher than what they think is going to sell for. And after you submit the LOI, follow up within 24 to 48 hours. If you don't win, don't give up. Remember my follow up every 2 weeks to check on the progress and ask the broker about their next deal. That is how you are top of mind on people's lives, because everybody is busy. If you call once, of course, they will never remember who you are. But if you are following up, you will be top of mind for their next deal. Moving on to management. We must all create steps and systems for everything. So within the company or within your industry, find the best 3 people that do the thing that you need to put steps and systems for. Go watch them. Each process must have a time goal. People do not move unless there's a deadline. The team has to follow the playbook. You must put a scoreboard and checks and balances on the systems. Then you tell your employees to do that for 6 months, and after they experience the whole process for 6 months, then you can come and tell me how it can be improved. And now that everyone is obviously implementing ChatGPT into their lives, you must know that you should type 450 words on average in order for you to create the proper scenario for ChatGPT. So you explain who you are, what is the context of the question, and what results are you looking for. Now moving on to our last topic for the day, loans. You should pick up about 5 to 6 lenders a year, of course, depending on your size. And you also must meet all of your lenders yearly. Give them a report with your PFS, your personal financial statement. Show them all of your properties, how they have performed, share the mistakes and the lessons learned, share the vision of the company, be proactive, present the business plan, and how have you operated the assets. Nobody does that. And if you do, trust me, you will stand out. I have heard that from my lenders just because I'm so organized. They tell me you are so far further ahead than others that I have dealt with. After a loan is done, the lenders get a 2-week update, and then it becomes quarterly. You should send pictures and also how you are doing versus pro forma. This I have not done yet, but I do think it shows a huge professionalism, and it also shows that you are incredibly responsible for your assets and on top of your game. As far as negotiating with lenders, negotiate on loan unforeseen costs. Stick with your needs even if you may lose that lender. Negotiate that if you hit a certain percentage of value increase on that property, they will give you a loan at this interest rate. Agency debt is non-recourse, and credit unions are great. Do not give any personal guarantee. The bigger you go, the less common it is for them to ask for personal guarantees. There are lots of co-GP family offices that can help you and show you their balance sheet if you need. You will only need that to have some guarantor for carve-outs only. We must negotiate debt to the ground. Negotiate, negotiate, negotiate. Loan to cost is currently on average at 50%. Don't do variable rates. I'm not so sure I personally agree with that, but that was what one of the top self-storage operators shared. We also must read all pages of the loan documents that we sign and comment and edit. Someone that I know reads every single page of all of the loans that he gets, and he has made as many as 500 comments. You must have other banks lined up if they say no to what your top requirements are. You should also put a homestead exemption on all of your loan documents so that they cannot take your home in case things go south. And also make sure that they are not removing any of your constitutional rights on the loan documents. And the last thing that I have typed from these events that someone shared is that the fastest way to change your life is to change the words you use. And it is so true. I'm sorry that I have been out for the last couple of months. We have been working on multiple deals, and I want to hear from you guys. Do you love this podcast? Are you learning from it? What do you want to know? What topic should I cover? Please, I need some communication from my 1,000 people audience here, please, because I record these all by myself and I do not get to see any reaction, any live reaction. So tell me how this podcast is doing. What do you want to learn? Send me an email. It goes directly to me to admin@montecarlorei.com. I'll put the email on their show notes. Thank you so much, and I will see you next time.